Rust is almost 15 years old, and with the amount of time that this game has been alive, there have been a lot of changes. Most of them were actually pretty good, but some of them were absolutely terrible. What started as a survival game that forced you to explore the world and have fun has now turned into a 9-to-5 job with constant farming and grinding to keep up with other players. So in this video, we'll be going over the 21 of the worst changes in Rust history to see at what point the game took a wrong turn. But first, make sure to hit that like button below, subscribe to the channel and check out Rust Clash. Rust Clash is a platform in the Rust community, known for their case battles and a bunch of different game modes where you can face off against other players in intense PvP openings. They also have a bunch of different game modes like Tiles, Plinko, Mines, Crash and the classic Upgrader, each with their own style and pacing. Whether you're uncovering tiles, watching the multiplier climb, or chasing a 10,000x Plinko ball, there's always action. And now, let's get back to the video. The first really bad update happened 9 years ago, back in 2017, and lasted for several months. I'm talking about recoil changes. Before devblock 162, all guns in the game had some randomness. Even if you fired just one bullet, it could have gone in a different direction, just like in real life. But after the update, the first shot became dead accurate, so you could never miss. Another really stupid change involved recoil. They added a recoil compensation. Now, after every spray, this recoil compensation automatically puts your weapon back in place. That alone made the game way more casual, but it was only the beginning. In the next devblock, they changed the recoil even more. Now they've added a weight system for all weapons. This made it much easier to control the recoil, since the bullets were more likely to hit the center of the screen than a random spot. The same mechanic was applied to shotguns as well. Now, all the shells were much more likely to fly to the center of the screen. All these changes began Rust transformation from a survival game to some sort of battlefield. A few months later, the Upkeep system was added to the game, which made all players really mad. Just imagine, before there wasn't any upkeep in the game. You just place ETC inside your base and that's it. You didn't need any resources to maintain that base, so you could build a giant castle. But after this update, players couldn't build these massive clan bases anymore because of the high upkeep. At the time, the community was insanely mad. But looking back on the change now, we can all say it was definitely the right decision. 1 year later, in 2018, Rust introduced a new gen graphics. Even though the graphics was insanely beautiful and everyone liked it, this came at the expense of performance, as the FPS had dropped by at least 20 and sometimes even 50% on all PCs. It took the developers almost 2 months to optimize the game a bit, but the community didn't want any more graphical changes after that update. And then came 2019, the year when the meta in Rust has changed, as the Oil Rig monument was introduced to the game. At first, everyone liked it, because there weren't as many monuments in the game back then as there are now. Plus, it wasn't just a monument, it was an entirely different location in the ocean, complete with boats, crates and all sorts of other stuff. But very soon, all players realized that this monument was the worst thing that could have happened to the game. In the past, there never used to be locations with so much loot in one place. But now, clans would just take over the Oil Rig and camp it for the whole wipe, which left solo players with no chance of getting even close to this monument. This completely changed the meta in the game. There wasn't any primitive gameplay anymore in the game, because whoever reached the Oil Rig first will dominate the server. Why farm resources and explore the map when you can get all weapons right after the wipe just by taking the Oil Rig? And just when everyone thought things couldn't get any worse, the developers added Minicopters to the game. You see, before there weren't a lot of vehicles in Rust, so the only way to get to the Oil Rig was either by swimming, which took a very long time, or by boat. But now, there's an ultra-fast air vehicle in the game that spawns in random places on the map. So now everyone can get to the oil rig even faster. This led to the clans gaining complete dominance across the entire map, since copters allowed them to reach any location in no time. But that was only part of the problem, because thanks to the Minicopters, you could reach almost all main monuments on the island without having to solve any keycard puzzles. That's exactly why now we have air defense system at launch site and closed ceilings at the train yard. But back in the day, you could just fly a copter onto the roof of any monument and get all the loot without any keycards and fuses. In some ways, this helped solo players keep up with the clans that control the oil rigs. But this was still messing up with the game mechanics, so the developers had to do something with the copters, and very fast. And you know what? They just added a clan copter to the game to make life even easier for clans and completely destroy solo players. Yes, the clan copters spawn much less often, but it still gave the clans a huge advantage. It took the developers a whole 4 months to finally hear the community and do something about the copters. So now they don't spawn on the map anymore, and you can only buy them at the bandit camp. In my opinion, this was the best solution to this problem, which took more than 6 months to resolve. But the players' happiness didn't last very long, because in June 2020 the developers introduced the Rust app, and that thing totally killed the whole survival aspect. Now you can activate the turret at your base simply by tapping a button on your phone, even when you're not in the game. You had access to all the cameras from your phone, could see your teammates' movements on the map, see all events, and what's more, you could receive a notification if you're being raided. Some new players like this feature, but veterans simply hated it. It's no longer about having fun in the game. Now it's a real 9-to-5 job, where you can't even get a normal sleep, because you might get a raid notification at 5 AM, and you'll have to wake up and try to defend your base. And that also meant you wouldn't be able to offline raid your neighbor, because he will also get a message and join the game to kill you. But this app is nothing compared to what will happen that same year. I'm talking about introducing the Stage 3 system. In my opinion, that was exactly the moment when Rust took a wrong turn. Instead of exploring the world, looting monuments to find weapons and researching them, players now just mindlessly farm scrap 24/7 to research every item on the Workbench. And again, who gained the most advantage from this update? Of course it's the clans. They could just send 10 people to farm scrap, and within 5 hours they have all the resources they needed. And the worst part is that this system is still in the game, even though I think it should have been replaced a long time ago. But what do you think about it? What system should be in the game to bring back balance? Write your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really interested in your opinion. And finally, we've come to the 3 of the most terrible changes in Rust history. The most hated update ever happened in June 2022. I'm talking about the second combat update in Rust history and a complete recoil change. You can watch a whole documentary on this topic on Jack Shepard's channel. In short, before there was a fixed pattern, so if you spend enough time mastering recoil, you will be really good. But after the update, guns have random recoil that gets harder to control the longer you hold the trigger, making them less accurate. This lowered the skill ceiling to master all weapons in Rust, and led to a massive outflow of players from the game. Just imagine, you've spent years mastering the recoil pattern for an AK, and in just one night, all your skills has vanished. I remember that moment very well myself, and to be honest, I took a break from the game for a couple of months. But then, I decided to give this new system a chance, and even though I still hate it, at least now I'm hitting my enemies a little bit. A year later, in 2023, the first cosmetic skin was added to the game. The Brutally skin was the beginning of the new era of pay-to-win skins in Rust. Nowadays, you simply can't play comfortably unless you spend at least $20 to $40 on skins. And I think that's terrible. All these skins for hazmats, barrels, shelves, building skins, the new pay-to-win bunkers and glowing weapons have turned the game into nothing but a money-making machine. If you want to gain an advantage, you just buy skins or DLC instead of improving your skills. And that's yet another terrible change. And the last thing that completely blew my mind was the new blueprint system. In short, clan advantage becomes even more noticeable than ever before. Progression is tied heavily to control monuments, and since there are a lot of clans just camping these blueprint fragments, solo players just don't have a chance even to craft a second workbench. As you can see, over time, Rust turned from a survival, exploring game to some battlefield shit. And with every new update, things just keep getting worse and worse. But we still can change it. If you have any ideas on how to make Rust great again, please write them in the comments below. Maybe I'll make a separate video about my ideas on how to improve the game, and Facepunch might use them in the future updates. And if you want to know even more about Rust, then here are 20 of the most essential Rust keybinds that will definitely improve your game. I guarantee you won't know all of these, even if you are a more experienced player.